Welcome to Business on Purpose, the podcast for hardworking entrepreneurs who drive our economy. I'm your host, Barry Barrett, and as a sales leader and business owner, I understand the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. Each episode, I am interviewing business owners who have faced the same struggles you have. Low revenue, a lack of scalability in their sales force. Together, we're going to explore their entrepreneurial journey and uncover the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. From mentors to advice, we'll dive deep into what has helped these business owners get unstuck and move forward towards success. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, the podcast is for you. Be sure and follow and subscribe to this podcast as we learn from the experiences of successful business owners and navigate the road to entrepreneurship together. Let's get started. All right, so we're ready. Troy McCracken, welcome to the podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Just so you guys know, Troy McCracken's one of my clients. He runs an incredible organization out of Cincinnati, Ohio, called, it's formerly the McCracken Group. Now it's a G, right? Language is hard. Language is hard. TMG. And he's one of the most incredible guys you're going to meet. He's just infectious with his personality. I cannot wait for you to meet him and conversate and just listen to what he has. He does have a lot of energy and he has a lot of intelligence and a lot of focus. I love it. So welcome, Troy. I appreciate you being here.
Giving me way too much credit. So,
I'm giving you the appropriate amount of credit.
There you go.
Good. So Troy, tell us, how did you get your start?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me, Barry. Appreciate it, by all means. So love developing the relationship that we've had over the last year or so. It's been great getting to know you and just the whole process. All right. So it's been awesome. So thank you. So
appreciate it.
So if I'm very honest, which I will be, I was with the company Cincinnati Bell at the very beginning, left for Cincinnati Bell to go to a company called Cable and Wireless. Was there for several years, very successful. And at one point I was talking about just going out on my own. Right. So one of those things where, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. I saw an opportunity where I was doing a lot of business with people and I was losing a lot of business because of the way cable and wireless was positioned in the marketplace. Simple as that. So bottom line is in the industry that I started in with telecom, the closer you are to the facilities, the lower your cost. Cable and wireless didn't have a lot of facilities. So I'd always come in 30% higher and everybody's like, Troy, I'd love to do business with you, but dude, you're not worth 30%. I'm like, well, I appreciate that. But I understood. So my whole thing is if I could go to where I would not have to worry about which supplier was the right supplier and just bring the right solution to the table, that I'd have a winner. That's when I started TMG at that point in time.
Yeah. You saw a need, you created a niche.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like at the time the suppliers, and this is an ongoing joke in the industry, but they just don't support people well. And I felt like if I could just do basic business 101, respond to an email in a timely manner, respond to a page, that dates me, respond to a page in a timely manner, right? And just do what's right for them, that I'd have a winner. And so far it's worked out so pretty good for us.
I love it. Who were your mentors in the beginning and groups or individuals? Who did you talk to? Who helped you?
Believe it or not, my mom helped me a lot. Right. She was a single mom raising three big kids that we were, right. My older brother and younger brother. But actually, it was one of my first managers. So it taught me a lot about sales in the industry, talk about work what's hot. Don't try to sell, just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So his name was Greg High School. So he did a lot for me in the very beginning. And then just other managers, just listen to them, what they do. My whole thing is when I first started, I went to the top rep in the company, drove them absolutely nuts and said, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? How do you get there? What do you do? How do you get there? So just go that mentality and just try to mimic their success.
Yeah, right? you and I shared that story the last session I think we were in. Is I did the same thing. I remember the guy who said it, Lou Iona. I don't know if the guy's still alive. Who knows? But I would look at successful people and say, okay, what the heck are they doing, and can we replicate that? So what is the one thing what's some of the things that you saw him doing that he taught you that you weren't doing that you changed because of the evaluation of that?
Honestly, everything. I was a kid right out of school, so it was one of those things where I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about business, and I didn't know anything about technology. So I was strike three already. So I just listen to learn to everything. There's not one thing I can point out, to be dead honest with you. It's just trying to understand what they did and how they did it,
Hmm.
and read a lot of books. Read a lot of books. So at one point in time in my career, I read a ton of books. It was like they were all starting to sound the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was
Yep.
one of those things. But as the older I get, I finally realized there were a lot of differences in those books. I just was too young and too immature to pick up on those
Yeah,
differences
they're
at the time.
subtle, right? Because
Very.
they're all built. The reason they all seem the same is they're all built on principles, these,
Yeah.
timeless ideas, but there's nuances to everybody's approach. And that's really where you can look in as you get older and wiser, you can see the nuances of the details that make the biggest difference, right? The small tweaks.
Yeah.
Where have you had challenges in your sales, in your career, whether it was individually or how to build a team of salespeople? Like, where were your challenges?
Biggest challenge I had is building a sales team.
Mm.
So the only thing that stops us from growing is getting the right salespeople in place. And I will wholeheartedly admit, arm raised, God, I swear, that type of thing. I am a terrible manager. If you're in sales, I believe you're in sales for a reason, that you want to help people and you want to make a lot of money, and you don't want somebody to tell you how much you're worth. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, then you should be self-motivated. I shouldn't have to ask you, or how many appointments are you setting? How many calls are you making? How many emails are you sending? That should be you.
Mm.
What I'm there to do is to help you if you don't understand the product, if you don't understand, if there's a got you in a specific account, how do I get around this? That's what I'm there to help you with. I'm not there to help you with your activity. To me,
Yeah.
that should be like, that's table stakes, right?
Yeah. Permission to play or table
Yeah,
stakes, like you said.
exactly. So, and a lot
Yeah.
of people that I hired that I thought understood that didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So I made a lot of mistakes in the hiring
One
process.
of the things is you're an entrepreneur, business owner, and the person you just described is an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I know that. My wife said that all the time. She said, Troy, here's the simple thought process. You're trying to find you, and he already has a job. He's doing it for himself.
Yeah.
So that's the
One of the
difficult for me.
one of the things that I try to help people understand is you want salespeople who are entrepreneurial, but not entrepreneurs. Because people like me and you, we go start our own thing because we can't imagine. Look, I'm so frustrated with what you're doing, and the truth is, it doesn't matter what you would do. I'd be frustrated with what it is because it's not mine,
Yeah, good point. Good point.
right?
Yeah, that's a lot of point.
But
Yeah.
salespeople have to be entrepreneurial and but not entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurial salespeople have to be managed. Now, some of us are terrible at managing, and I count myself as that person as well. I think I'm really good at training and I'm really good at leading and selling, but that management piece, that managing the process piece, it gets me hung up. And what is the key for you to become unstuck and growing that sales team? And what does that look like?
Hire somebody that knows what he's doing. That's what I've done, right? It's one of those things. You hire smarter people than you, right?
Yeah.
So you don't try to hire everybody not as intelligent. You're never going to grow. So I've just been very lucky. And gentleman, Seth Marsh, agreed to work with me about
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years ago, and he's the one who's helping grow the team and train the team. And I'm ecstatic with him right now.
Yeah,
Absolutely
that's so
awesome.
good.
So,
Yeah, I often say this, and Steve Jobs said it. He said, I don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. I hire smart people to tell me what
tell
to
me
do.
what to do. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I love that so much. So right now, Seth is helping you get through those challenges, and he works for
Yep.
you. Is he a mentor for you right now, even though you pay him?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. To me, anybody's a mentor.
Huh,
Right?
that's good.
Everybody has their own experiences. I even and tell that to the salespeople that he's bringing on. I'm like, dude, I'm open to hearing your ideas. You have different set of experiences than I do, right? You never know what bit of information you're going to get from somebody that's going to change your life in a big way.
Mm,
So to me, everybody has their own value, and you need to listen to anybody and everybody. You
mm,
still have to you have to discern what to listen to.
right.
There's no reason that you just don't shut somebody out because of their age or gender or
Mm.
whatever it may be.
Yeah, I like the advice that I got from somebody one time that said, I need people who are smart and disagree with me.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
I always like to say they have to be smart first and
first,
then
right? Yeah,
disagree with me.
you got
And
to be able to tell
look,
me
I
why
get
you're
to
disagreeing with me. Yeah,
I get to discern who I think is smart, right?
yeah,
And you do too. I don't worry about those things.
yeah. Good
So,
point.
what is something that you've learned recently that has changed your thought pattern?
Oh, geez, I'm thinking here. I've learned a lot lately, as you can imagine, as we go through EOS.
Yeah, yeah.
Just one of the big things is accountability.
Mm,
It's not only holding myself accountable, but everybody else accountable as well. When we say we're going to do something, we need to do it.
yeah.
Where in the past we would quote make best efforts and maybe not
Mhm.
get there, and then that you actually lose some trust with your team and stuff when that happens. But yeah, that's just one piece of it. I just learned a lot, understanding
Yeah.
business a little bit more, understanding how EOS helps us define those processes, helps us stay on the right track, helps us communicate better. I will say that this isn't a EOS. I wasn't looking for. I lost it. Anyway,
Plug.
since we started, yeah, plug. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, since we started EOS, the communication between the leadership team has been phenomenal. A lot better. We're definitely on the same page more. There's no doubt about it. Where
Man, that's good to
before
hear.
we were talking, but we weren't communicating.
Yeah, that's good to hear from somebody like me. It makes me employable, right? And it makes me
Yeah,
hot.
I didn't want to give you a plug. I was trying not to, but I couldn't help it because
Oh,
it's true. It's what I've been
yeah.
learning, right? I
I
mean,
know you didn't. You try
so
everything that you can not to. I like that.
you can plug yourself enough. We know that. Come on.
That's exactly right. Look, I don't need to be told I'm doing a good job. I'll let you know. I'll let you know that I am.
Exactly. Absolutely. Uh,
Oh,
oh,
that's so good. That's good. So, where are you headed now? What are your next steps in your journey?
it's funny we're talking about that, right? We went through the whole 1 year, 3 year, 10 year plan. So right now, the next step, just for me personally, and is that finally hiring that assistant that I was supposed to. So you don't know this, but starts January 17th.
Nice. That's a
Yes.
delegate action,
So
right? Good for you.
exactly. The rock this quarter was just to do the due diligence on the assistant, but I'll tell you what, it was one of those things where you walked in the door and you wanted to marry her, right? Love at first
Yeah.
sight. She's
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking.
What's funny is that quarter before you made a rock to hire someone, did you not?
Right.
So what we did was shrink it down to less, which is
Yep.
not to hire someone and train them and all these things. It was to do due diligence on figuring out who to hire. And then you ended up actually doing a bigger rock because you started with a smaller one.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
But
not looking
on
at the
its
whole
face, it
forest,
doesn't make
just looking
sense.
at, yeah, just trying to find one tree at a time instead of looking at the whole forest and going, wow, that's going to be overwhelming. Right. I
Yeah.
got too much on my plate. I can't do this.
So we say less is best, less is more, whatever you want to say it. But if you start with a really small goal, just a little bit of a stretch, but you you end up a lot of times way past than what you thought. But if you try to get this big thing that's unattainable, you actually get stuck in the smallest of things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it makes total sense. Makes total
that's
sense.
really good.
So, from a company perspective, we're plugging away, right? We just hired another person in Atlanta. We're looking at hiring a very tenured person, even though it's not in the budget, so per se. I think
Hmm.
this person might be a great fit. Hit the ground running, so we're talking about doing that. So
So this
just
tenured person, what is their role going to be? What is their seat?
hunt, 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 hunt.
Yeah. So he's a salesperson, right?
Yep, yep.
And you say it's not in the budget. Salespeople create their own budget, or do they not?
Exactly. And that's exactly what we talked about. And when I talked to the individual, I said, look, this wasn't planned for the budget, right? For this year. I said, but that doesn't
Hmm.
gonna stop me from hiring you. If you're the right fit, then we're gonna hire you because one, you will do what you say you're gonna do, which means that you'll create your own budget. And number two, it's worth it to take it out of retained earnings or whatever to find the right person.
Yeah. So let's talk about this really quick. Like when it comes to salespeople, and every industry is so different. Do you, in your mentality, do you pay a bigger base pay or a bigger commission structure? What is your mentality on that? Your philosophy?
So for a very tenured rep, you have to pay them. So what we do, we're a little different, right?
Hmm.
In some industries because of the way we pay.
Says every business owner.
I know, but from a compensation perspective, I don't
Yeah.
know a lot of people that do what we do.
It is.
Yeah, we pay a residual to our sales reps.
Yeah.
So whatever their salary was before, our goal is to allow them to grow their business within our business, right? So the idea is that whatever their salary is this year won't be their salary next year and won't be their salary the year after.
Yeah.
So they may have to take a step back in order to take 5 steps forward.
I love
But
that.
in order to do that, they have to believe in themselves and they have to take a chance on themselves. They got to know and they have to understand what this is about. And the biggest thing we look at is just core values.
Yeah.
We are, and that's a non-negotiable. As we talk about the core values, and they have to hit those and they have to understand it. And I have to fully believe that they understand and are engaged, and that's the way they live, not just the way they talk.
That's right. Yeah. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Exactly. It's the show me, don't tell me type of thing. So that's why I'm saying this person seems to be the right person, because I've known them for a while. I know the position they were in before, worked with them. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah,
yes. A seasoned rep should bring a certain amount of book of business or be able to ramp up really fast.
You and I, so we haven't had this conversation. I hate the word ramp.
Oh, do you really? Tell me why.
I hate the word, because to me, ramp means laziness, right? If I'm at a company now, let's say I'm doing the same job, right? If I'm at company A doing technology sales, right? I have a pipeline if I'm a salesperson.
Okay.
And 9 out of 10 times, you're not taking business from the existing company, right? That's a non-compete. But anybody you're pipelining, that's open game. So if they come over to our company on Monday and they left on Friday, they should have a similar pipeline. It shouldn't have to 6-month ramp up to make connections, to set appointments. Now, they may have a ramp in education and training, that type of thing. But having a pipeline, that should be there.
Absolutely. If they're seasoned.
Exactly.
So do you have a break-even number that they need to hit in the first 30 days, 90 days, 6 months?
It's 6 months.
6 months break-even number?
There's a 6-month number that they have to hit in order to be able to do it. And if they are doing the right things, if they do have a huge pipeline at that point in time, if they are having tons of meetings and things just aren't closing or the timing isn't right, in our business, the way we do the timing is critical. Right. So as far as when somebody's ready to do a project. But as long as I see that pipeline growing, them doing the right things, we'll stick with them a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I've never been on any kind of salary or anything base, but I've always had a company where I onboard and I'm paid on a draw versus commission. And I can honestly tell you, I've never not covered a draw, even in the first month of a company. I've never not been able to cover the draw, because almost every company that I've walked into had some sort of sales process. My first job, they told me on day one, learn the script or you'll be fired by Friday. And I was fresh out of the Marines, and I'm like, I guess I'll learn it by Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll memorize it. It may sound like a robot, but I'll memorize the script. How's that?
And I did every day. I would go to the mirror and I would look in the mirror and I would practice. I would drill and I would rehearse. And then by Thursday, I did a good job, and they put me in the field on Friday. And on Friday, I ran my first sales call and I sold my first deal. And let me tell you, I thought I was good. I'm like, man, this is simple. My next 10 sales did not go that way. That's when I knew I needed training.
Yeah, I better do something. Well, it's funny you said that. I haven't told you this story. So I've got a similar story to that. When I was at Cincinnati Bell, same thought process, right? Work your butt off, know your pitch, all that good stuff. The very first call I picked up, I had a conversation with them. Can I come out and meet with you? And said, no, I don't need to come meet with you. I said, okay, but closed it over the phone. I'm like, this is easy, right? And then the next 150 calls, I got nobody answering the phone call. Couldn't get through the secretary at the time, or receptionist. And okay, maybe this isn't as easy as I thought it was.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Sales is hard, man. We talk about that all the time. Sales is extremely hard.
Yeah.
I know everybody sees the golf and all that stuff, but there's a lot of work behind that.
It's the easiest, lowest paying job you can have. And the hardest, highest paid job you can have.
I never heard that. That's a good point. Yeah. But what I liked about it is you get paid what you're worth.
Yeah. You're paid.
You're never going to get paid what you're worth until you own your own company, right?
Well, but that's not for everybody. I used to think anybody could start a business. I'm like, no, that's just not True. That's
Well,
okay.
it's funny you said that. I had one of my employees at one point in time. We were going through what they want to do with their life, right? What would you like to do? One of them said, I want to start my own business. I'm like, really? She yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, then why don't we do this? I will bring you into the fold and some things I would normally not bring you into the fold.
Hmm.
So you can see certain things that you're going to need to learn and understand when you open your business. 6 months later, she came to me, she goes, I changed my mind. I don't want to open my own business.
So that
Exactly.
segues beautifully into my next question is
All
there are
right.
3 stages. There's a startup stage, there's the growth stage, and then there's a scalability stage. What advice are you giving someone in the startups phase?
Oh my gosh, dude, I'm not that intelligent. Startup phase, it's all about hustle.
Yeah.
It's all about hustle. Simple as that. When you get into the growth stage, I think it's more about process and understanding how
Hmm.
I want to, just from a standpoint of keeping the processes the same so everybody's on the same page, right?
Yeah. So that's the
When
growth
you're in
stage.
startup, everybody's doing what they have to do, right? This
Yeah.
person's supporting somebody this way, this person's doing this. There's no set of policies or processes you follow. And the only way you're going to grow is to be able to put those in place because everybody can't be doing their own thing in order to grow.
Hmm.
You got to have the same process.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
right.
So to say it the different way, your startup, you're like, it's the grit and it's the grind. You better be
Yeah,
really gritty
absolutely.
and you better be really grindy because it's about working half days, those 12, 13, 14-hour
Yeah,
days.
exactly. Absolutely.
That's the startup phase. And it can last. How long do you think does a startup phase can it last?
It depends on what you do. I would say a good 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, depending on what you're doing and what business you're in, right?
Yeah, I think that's what people don't get. Like the startup phase, they think, oh, 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, you better buckle
Yeah.
up
No,
3, 4, 5 years a lot, right?
I think when you said that, yeah, I did. So I started the company in '99,
Hmm.
and we were lucky and fortunate enough to close a pretty big deal. But in September, hired my first employee.
Hmm.
The following September, hired my second employee, even though we were doing well. I think the following like another 6 months, hired a third employee, and just went from there. Because as you grow, you got to have help. So that's that thought process. So you taught me that. Get an assistant.
Get an
Get
assistant.
an assistant. First thing you need is get an assistant. I fought you for 9 months. So, but yeah. So I think it's just startup. It can last a lot longer, especially if you're doing it bootstrapping.
Oh
You're doing it
yeah.
on your own dime. You're not going out and getting VC or PE or whatever kind of money you're getting. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother list of challenges, right?
Yeah.
When you
You
have somebody
if you
else
want
who's,
to yeah, when you don't have
yeah, you
but
want
it's
to make
about
money, you got to roll with
resourcefulness,
it.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then the
Yeah, good
growth
point.
stage, you're talking about creating and starting to write those processes and you got to do training as best you can, right? To
Yep.
help it grow because you have to create new use. How about the scale stage? What's your advice to people trying to scale the business after they've documented those processes?
Get somebody who knows how to do it.
Yeah. Hire the right people, right? Hire
I mean,
somebody who knows
that's
how to
it.
do it.
Hire people smarter than you. It's one of those things. If you haven't been there, you can't do it. I
Yeah.
can't say you can't do it, but you probably won't do it as well as somebody who's been there, done that.
Yeah. It sounds so simple, but it's not easy.
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
We can sit here
People,
and think about in 5 minutes, have this discussion of the startup, the growth, but this is the 30-year overnight success, right?
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you haven't heard anybody. They've been in business for 30 years, and now you think they've been in business for 2 years. Yeah, and money does help. Don't get me wrong. When somebody sees and wants to invest in you, then the scale can go much faster.
But at the same time, studies show that the more a startup has money, the more likely they are to fail.
Really, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
look
I
at it,
knew you would know that, Mr. Researcher, but yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
well, think about if you start with $1 million and you've got what you think is a great idea, you have $1 million to throw at it.
Yeah,
And so
yeah. So
you
you're
think,
burning through money pretty quickly. Where if you have $100,000, you're doing it a little bit more detailed on what you're doing.
and
You
if
know
you
what?
got $1,000, you better be real detailed.
Yeah. I think that's, don't they say out in Silicon Valley, they said they will never invest in anybody who hasn't already failed at least once or twice.
I think that I don't know if that's
They
true, but I
gotta
think that's a good thing to live by,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think I've read that or heard that they just won't do it because if you haven't failed, you don't know what you've done wrong.
If you read Jim Collins's book, How the Mighty Fall,
Okay.
One of them is hubris born of success. Because
Yep.
you've been successful one place, you think you can be successful every place, which is absolutely unequivocally not the truth.
A lot of different factors and things associated with that different place. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So if I'm a salesperson working for TMG,
I know that's so hard for you to understand.
it is because when you
TMG.
when I onboarded you, it was the McCracken group, and
I
now
know.
you've got to get used to this TMG thing.
I know. So, well, remember, we did it because we're trying to get me out of it, right? That's the whole
100%. Yeah, they're changing the name just so everybody knows. So it's not all about Troy. When we started our automotive repair business years ago, it's called Auto Excel. My brother was like, "How about Barrett Automotive?" I'm like, "It's the only smart thing I ever knew back then." I think I said, "Yeah, that's not sellable." And I had listened to Dave Ramsey's Entre Leadership. I used to be in their group, and I'm like, and that's what they said. Like, don't name it after you, because then it's hard to sell because you're not going to be the person. So we named it Auto Excel Excellence. Okay, we like excellence. Now, when you name yourself that, you need to live up to that. You want to be of excellence, but you changed it. It's just hard for me.
No, hey, no, believe me, when we started, it wasn't. Remember, the initial company name was Spectrum Networks.
Yeah.
Right. The reason we changed it was because in 2017, in Cincinnati, where our headquarters is, Charter came in and purchased Time Warner and renamed to Spectrum.
That's
That was our
right.
name. So we lost all of our brand equity because, and plus that's a story. We had thousands of calls into our call center all of a sudden because people were wanting to drop off cable boxes to our offices.
Oh,
People would
no.
show up all over the place. Yeah. So we're like, we got to do something. So long story short, as we rebranded, we thought, what do we want to do? And we're like, you know what? We've been doing this for how many years? At least I have a decent reputation in the industry. Let's just call it the McCracken Group now so people know who we are. Right. And then the plan is a couple of years later, we'll flip it to something different. Our marketing company decided, they said, yeah, you need to get away from McCracken and go to TMG.
That's good.
So
give me one last piece of advice you would want people to know.
Core value. Always be humble.
Nice.
Always be humble. Yeah. Be grateful to God and kind to others. Best thing you can do, right? To me, business is very simple from a standpoint that you always do the right thing. You do the right thing for your clients, you do the right thing for your suppliers, you do the right thing for your employees, right? Or your teammates. If you do that, it'll work itself out, right? Man. God has the path. You just got to follow it.
That's good. Where do people find you?
Now, South Carolina. I'm just kidding. So you want my contact information is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. If somebody want to get a hold of Troy.
Yeah, no problem at all. Troy at TAP. So TAPTMG.com.
I love it. Man, as usual, it's always good to meet with you. Time flies when I'm hanging out with you. I think we're just such alike, and it's so much energy, and I just get excited when I talk to you, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you in January for the annual.
If you guys need more information, you can go to www.bwpcoach.com, and we'll give you some free resources, and you can learn more right there. Thanks, and have a great day.